Christiana El Ryan. She works as a therapist. She is also an international holistic speaker and an author. Additionally, she often travels for opening and maintaining energy portals along the planet, following the planetary energy lines and also the cosmic rhythms. Today's topic is going to be on pranic nourishment. So, what is prana and pranic nourishment, Christiana?
That's a great question. Prana is an ancient term that many traditions have used to define energy. So it also is utilized in scientific language, but it's called the vacuum field or the energy field. It's used in other traditions as mana or life force. In the Taoist tradition, it is called chi. It is basically the life force that runs through us and through all life forms that that keeps us alive and conscious. Pranic nourishment is the ability to be nourished by this energy. So when your channels and chakras are aligned and cleansed, and the frequency of them is fine-tuned to the degree that they can circulate the prana correctly, then you no longer need so much physical food. And there are also people who don't need physical food at all because they feel completely connected to this field of prana, to this energy field, to this vacuum field, if you will, that is basically creating all our cells or our atoms or our structures, and it's also nourishing them.
How long have you been with this pranic nourishment?
I have seen people that have been in this state for 20 or 40 years, and I've met in India at the Pranic Festival in Pyramid Valley. One of my guests was Mataji, or a very, very ancient yogi. Pralajani was his official name. That has been in the state until he was 93, so for more than 75 years. I myself have been studying this since 2009, I believe, and I've been in a more liquid diet since 2016. Before that, I've been growing through the vegetarian, then vegan process, then more raw food, and then juices and liquid. So it's been, I think, 5 years since I'm really living. For most than a month, not being able to swallow any solid food was in 2013. So that's when I've remembered it and understood it as a possibility because I've lived it. And since then, I've been juggling with, being a hybrid state. I wouldn't call myself or my colleagues breatharians because it's inaccurate, where we aren't nourished by breath, we are nourished by energy. It's not necessarily the breath that nourishes the body.
I mean, how can they nourish their body through prana?
Well, first of all, is to be aware that we're all energy. The mind needs to understand that everything is energy. When the mind understands this, then the rest is more simple. When you see everything solid like the table and the bones in your body, that all is made of molecules and atoms that are joined together by life force. Basically, it's life force is your energy matrix that is keeping you together in this shape, right? As a girl or as a boy, then you are aware that this energy is not only keeping your molecules together in this shape, and you're constantly waking up in the same shape every day. You're not a human in this day and a dog the next day, so the energy field doesn't make that kind of mistake, right? If that is possible, then it's also possible that your cells are nourished in a very, very light way. And when you see all matter, like the apple you're eating or the vegetables or the milk you're drinking, when you're seeing it as energy, as molecules and atoms joined together, then you're aware that, wait, I'm taking energy from the outside in a more solid, denser form, and I'm putting it in my body. And then my body has to structure it and restructure it into calories, and it has to then discard the waste. And that's a very complex and complicated process, and it's requiring me a lot of energy to do all that, and do I really need it? So then you ask yourself this question, and then you notice how it feels when you're fasting. And at the beginning of the fasting, so many people feel a little dizzy, or they go through detox processes and they don't feel so well. But then as they detox themselves out of all the junk, they start feeling more and more energized when they are fasting. I have only one orange juice per day, yet I'm very, very energetic and I can do all my tasks. Why is that happening? Well, this is happening because you've cleansed your system. Those would be the first steps. First, to understand and believe that it is possible, and research so that you see how you're literally made of energy, and everything is an energy system, even the things that feel more dense or more solid in your body. Second is to purify your body. Otherwise, you're gonna, die if you stop eating, because you're not tapping into the life force source. You're still needing physical food. So purifying and detoxing your body is really, really necessary. And that's what we teach during the pranic process online. Purifying the emotional field, getting rid of all the emotions that are pushing us to emotional eat or to binge in certain foods. That's what causes most people to eat, actually. Most of the eating is emotional, and some of it is a necessity. But if you look at the quantity, you would notice that, 70% of your food you're eating for habit and emotional reasons, and 30% maybe you really need it. And that 30% might be the healthy stuff, and the junk stuff is the emotional part of your eating, right? So once you've cleared your emotional system and clarified yourself on the emotions that are generating the food habits, then you're able to drop the foods that no longer serve you, and that's how your diet naturally becomes lighter. And then purify your mind and your mind streams, and the thoughts and thought patterns that are judgmental, that are negative thinking, self-negative thoughts, or negative thoughts about the world. All that is cluttering your field, making you interrupt your energy flow. All that needs to be discarded, and then the energy can flow harmoniously. And that's when finally you're tapping into source feeding or pranic feeding. So it's a process. It doesn't come overnight for most people. It takes training, and it's basically the very training that yogis and Tibetans and Qigong masters have shared for millennia. Only they haven't focused on dropping food, because that's not our goal. That's not my goal either. I'm not teaching people how to drop food ever. They might or might not reach that state, but we are teaching all of us since millennia how to drop the things that are not necessary for you in the body, mind, and emotions. And when you drop all that, naturally you're source fed, and you're no longer needing so much food, or you're no longer needing food at all. That's why so many meditators, if you've noticed, so many meditators are naturally becoming vegetarians at some point, because they can no longer take denser frequencies, like the denser frequency of the meat. Most of them also, over time, if they really practice something like yoga or breath work or pranayam, they naturally become vegans over time, because they no longer need milk and dairy. They feel how their bodies is becoming heavier with that, so naturally they drop that. And then naturally they feel like, oh, maybe I should do some intermittent fasting, or maybe I should do some juice diet for a while, naturally, because their body is raising the frequency, and their mind is clearer, and the emotions are less cluttered. So they naturally move into that state over years. If you notice in ashrams or in your private communities, this naturally happens. I'm checking back in my colleagues, meditation colleagues, since 10 years ago. They've all gone lighter. Back 10 years ago, when I was doing all my detox and all my processes and purifying myself, they would still be on heavy vegetarian diet, using fried products and eggs and dairy and they wouldn't agree with my diet. Maybe they would always say, you always need some calcium, you need to drink milk and blah, blah, blah. Now they all gone either vegan or raw or on juices. Naturally, I didn't have to convince them. They just did their practice for 10 years. Their body purified, their mind clarified, their emotions are lighter. Naturally, they shifted into the diet that I used to have. So it's all happening by default if you purify your systems. That's my organic way of becoming pranic, and that's why I support people to do. We are beings of light. We have come here on this planet with various missions or just for fun to experience what life on earth is. But we have to be aware that we've incarnated as beings of light in a physical body. So we all have a body of light or an energy body, all of us. It has been called the body of light or the rainbow body, however you want to call it, in various traditions. The Tibetans were always saying that to touch the state of having the rainbow body or imbue your physical body with so much light that it becomes a light body, you have to hold only positive thoughts for several years, like many, many years. Do not have one negative thought for many, many years in order to hold that state. Why? Because your mind is connected to your cells and it imprints certain frequencies in your cells. And the more you hold a positive mindset and a clear mind, the more you raise the frequency of your physical vehicle. So that's the first step. Cultivate mind mastery and the healthy mindset. And I'm not talking only about affirmation and faking till we make it, because that's not going to work. It's a more in-depth process that is very much described in your yogic treatise. If you look at your Yoga Sutras of Patanjali or what Osho speaks about the mind, that's very important to look at because that is true, and that is the truth of how to tame and organize the mind and use it as an instrument and not be used by it. Even if it feels uncomfortable, drop meat and dairy products and animal products. It's a necessity. You have to detox your body. It's a must now. It's no longer optional, especially with the illnesses that come on the planet these days. It is obvious that we need to treat our bodies differently. It's no longer an optional thing like maybe I will, maybe I won't. No, if you won't, you'll die. It's simple.
Yes.
And I say it with a smile because I don't see that as a bad thing. It's a transition to a more evolved state where you're going to accept the reality that your energy. Start doing asanas in yoga to open up your channels and maintain them clear and active. The nadis, the channels that are connecting the chakras. Start using detox plants. In Ayurvedic systems in India, you have all details about detox. You can use that, or you can search on the internet of detox plants. I'm not referring, however, to plant-based medicine. I'm not referring to ayahuasca or anything else. I'm not using that. No, I'm referring to like basil tea or tulsi. Or, you have many plants that are cleansing the digestive system, or the Champrakshalana technique, where you drink salt water until it goes out clean on the other side. All that stuff that has been practiced in the yogic systems for purifying and aligning the physical body, that is necessary now to start doing. And I've been doing it for 10 years. I now use, instead of salt water, I use sauerkraut juice, which is even more potent because it's also probiotic and it has all the B vitamins, but the effect is the same. I drink 2 cups, it purifies my whole digestive system instantly, right? Very simple. So purify your body, do the asanas or the qigong or the yogic practice for energizing and opening the channels. Work with your emotions. Do not neglect or discard them because they are the main cause of your mind agitation, right? So work with your emotions, dive into them, acknowledge them, ask yourself, why am I feeling this? Where is it coming from? And with that, I help people with the one-on-one pranic process or individual sessions, and they discover things from childhood or other lifetimes that have been driving their behavior all the way through this lifetime. in various patterns that they couldn't figure out. Like, why am I having the same type of breakups in every relationship? Or why am I having the same type of jobs that I'm eventually dropping? Or why am I having the same financial issues no matter how rich I get? These are patterns that have to do with emotions and mindsets that you have to research on yourself. And once you remove these blockages, prana flows clearly through you. And last but not least, that I started with, mind mastery. Look at your programs, look at your sets of beliefs, ask yourself, is this belief still useful for me, or is it detracting from my well-being? And if it's not useful, just drop it. So those would be the steps in simple, in brief. I offer much more details with my program, the Pranic Process Online, where we take all these aspects and we go deeper into them and we do the meditations to clear them. Yeah.